YouTube. How are ya? How was your what day is it? Wednesday. My Wednesday was good. I was assigned to kind of be like a manager or team lead for a pretty big project in a new area that I've never actually done before. So it's been good. It's been a learning curve, but I feel like the group that I'm working with is very, very supportive and nice. And they're able to kind of explain things to me and let me know how certain parts of the project, like running a project in this way, are supposed to go. So that's been really helpful. How's work going for you guys? Oh, I see Lori and Lisa are already here. Lori says, don't forget to move into live chat. Thank you. And Lisa is working on a sewing project while you listen. Awesome. Hi, Lisa. And Monica's here. Hello. So, for the last little while with my videos, I've been trying really hard to have variety, but I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again. And to me, I feel like my anti-MLM videos might be getting a little bit dry because I'm struggling to find other unique, different things to talk about. And so I don't know exactly how it's going to look when I want to do videos, when, like, which topics or anything, but I'm feeling like maybe I'll do like 2 or 3 a week. One will be anti-MLM related, and then another one will be research focused. And I really enjoyed prepping for this rental scam video, so maybe it'll be like a scam video, so some kind of scam video, or like in thinking about video on like Scientology or the IBOP or other cults, or what else? I had others, or like just things that I'm interested in that I enjoy. Like I could do like hockey videos or exercise videos. I like K-pop. I could do videos about K-pop, right? And so I think I just need to, like, for my own sake, have some variety in my content. And so if you're wanting to just watch the anti-MLM videos, that's no problem, of course. I totally understand. Hi, Amanda. How's it going? Lick the stream, Monica says. Yes, paper letter and transact are the new hot topic for sure. I just feel like I've been saying the same thing in my videos, and like they've been good. I've enjoyed them, but I feel like I don't have as much variety as I would like, and I just want to like learn new things on my channel. So I wanted to do a video on rental scams, specifically in Canada, because that is where I live. And I had fun researching this. It was really cool to like look for the different kinds of rental apartment scams. And then I wanted to find some news articles too that goes into more detail about a specific scam type or the specific scam case in a certain part of Canada. So I found this website, the four most common rental scams to avoid and the latest scams in Canada. So I'm really excited for this. I really enjoyed looking into this. Sorry. Rental scams pose an urgent threat to Canadian renters and have recently been ranked the number 7 riskiest type of scam in Canada, according to the Better Business Bureau's 2022 Scam Tracker Risk Report. Especially in major rental markets like Vancouver, Toronto, and Calgary, significant increases in rent prices and demand have made rental scams more dangerous and more common than ever. Here at live.rent will break down some of the most common types of scams as well as the latest scams in Canada, based on reports from renters across the country. We'll also outline ways renters can protect themselves from these scams and ensure they're renting safely throughout the rental process. I don't know about you, but I find it fascinating that rental scams in 2022 were the number 7 riskiest type of scam in Canada. In my opinion, it's like it wouldn't feel like it's that high, but in certain places, like downtown Calgary, throughout Vancouver, there are big high rises everywhere, especially in the downtown areas. And so I'm not I guess I'm not surprised if there's such a concentration in rental housing in certain parts of large Canadian cities, then I guess that would make sense. I tried to click on the Canada Risk Report that cited here, the 2022 Scam Tracker Risk Report, but I like it's not loading, so we can't look at that. Oh, Monica, there's several. It's quite fascinating, and they're kind of complicated. Some of the scams. So yeah, we're gonna look through that, and it's gonna tell us the type of scams, and then what renters can do to protect themselves against a specific type of rental scam. Good question, though. Good question. I feel like I moved from to where I am now from a different part of the province, country. I came from out of not country, sorry, I came from out of province, and I did research when I moved into my apartment. I did research on the location of where I was just because I wanted to make sure I was not in really high crime area, but I did not do research on the rental company. I did not look into reviews, which there were lots of, and I should have looked into like are there like infestations in the property like bed bugs or cockroaches? How long does it take for the rental company to respond to maintenance requests, things like that? Because my company, like, it was not a scam, they were a real company, but there's not a good company. And so I feel like another tip when you can't see an apartment in person, if you're moving from out of from a different city or different province, is to just research the specific company, not just the location in which your apartment is. Rental scams are a type of fraud that targets those renting property, typically with the aim of obtaining money from prospective tenants. These scams typically center around a fake listing or a real listing reposted and claimed by a fake landlord, with the method of defrauding tenants varying from case to case. Since the scammer's goal is ultimately to get the tenant to send over the money or details that make it possible for the scammer to take their cash, most rental scams will at some point involve a request for a deposit or payment in some form. In most cases, the property being rented either doesn't exist or isn't owned by the supposed landlord, so it's either difficult or impossible to arrange an in-person viewing or clarify key details about the unit. So it's also important, if we're in the same city, if it's possible, to always go see it in person. And we are going to hear about stories how the supposed landlord made it seem like they were out of town, that there's no way for them to see the rental in person. But just make sure you always see it in person. You always like advocate for yourself to go and meet the landlord in person, even if they're being sketchy. And if they're being sketchy, then make sure go find a real rental. Yeah. There is a way to report it. Yes. This is just for Canada, though. We can look at that. Once a payment is made, the scammer will generally disappear, or in some cases, will actually provide a fake pair of keys. As a result, victims not only lose their hard earned money, but end up without a place to live as well. Can you imagine? Say you actually go and there is an apartment, but someone else lives there and you don't know, right? You go with your key and you can't get in. You can't get in because it's a fake key. And we're going to hear a story or look at a story about a woman who, over the course of several years, she had one person a month showing up to her apartment thinking that it was a rental and they were going to view it because someone used pictures of her apartment and put it online, making it seem like it was available for rent. And those people didn't know. And a few of the people who came to view her apartment actually lost money due to the scam. Rental scams are a particularly dangerous type of fraud due to the sensitive nature of the personal information exchanged throughout the rental process, the large sums of money that can potentially be lost, and the increased prevalence of these scams in recent years. We already read that. But the median dollar loss of A Canadian who it falls victim to one of these scams loses a median of $1,600. $1,600 someone loses due to these scams. And that is so sad. That is a shit pile of money, especially if you are moving. It's already expensive to move, especially if you came from out of the city or out of the province, and it's just outrageous. Makes me mad because sometimes people are in a desperate situation. They're just trying to find affordable housing and they think they found something, and then it's really just someone trying to take advantage of them. And it makes me sad. The risk has only been compounded by recent factors like the significant rise in rent prices sweeping the country. Yep. As well as particularly tough competition and a lack of rental housing supply in cities like Vancouver, Toronto, and Calgary. Living in Toronto, you will live in a shoebox for like thousands of dollars. A tiny studio apartment will be $2,000, $3,000 Canadian a month or more, depending on where you're living, right? And a lot of in those three cities, if you want to live in a nice 1-2 bedroom apartment, you're spending like $3,000, $4,000 a month. And in Canada, affordable housing is supposed to be 30% of your income. 30% of your income is spent on affordable housing. And so I can't do math, but if your housing is like $4,000 a month before internet and heating and electric, you have to be making a lot of money. You have to be making a lot of money for $4,000 a month to be actually affordable. We haven't even gotten into the main part of it yet. In a tight rental market, people are probably willing to hand over money before touring the rental property. Exactly. Because they're desperate to find a nice, safe, decent place to live. Renters are encouraged to be constantly vigilant and look over for common warning signs such as blurry listing photos, hidden address details, and difficulty arranging in-person viewings. Good. Okay, here are the common types. Reminds you of New York. Oh, I've been fascinated with watching apartment tours, like YouTube shorts of apartment tours in New York. It's like, this is $6,000 a month. It's like, who brings home $6,000 a month after taxes? Like, what average person has that much money laying around? Oh, the cost of rental housing is just outrageous. So one of the common rental scam types is fake listings. Scammers create deceptive rental ads for properties that either do not exist or aren't available for rent. Unsuspecting renters may be lured into paying deposits or fees upfront, only to discover that they have been swindled out of their money. This is an anonymous renter in Vancouver, British Columbia. I've encountered a few scams for listings at too good of a price, often properties that just got listed for sale. They claim they're not in town, will send a relative to show you the space, and say you must sign the lease immediately. Once you agree, they ask for the first month's rent by e-transfer and go on to say that you can cancel the e-transfer if you don't want the place. Ooh, yeah, and then another thing I would suggest that I did not do when I moved here is try to find average rental prices for the different types of apartments in like the different types of apartment from studio up to 3 bedroom, because say you're looking for a studio and in your city the average is $900, just guessing, and then you find a studio listed for $500. It could be a scam, or it could be a trash rental company that has no pride in maintaining the quality of its apartments and the cleanliness and the hygiene. And if you see that it's like several $100s below the average, then that should be a red flag as well. Yeah, they claim they're not in town or send a relative. Fake listings are sometimes incredibly hard to spot, as scammers often get photos from real properties that are listed for sale or rent elsewhere, making them appear real until it's too late. Maybe if we have time, if this doesn't take me 60 years to go through, I found a CBC News video about a man who found his house on sale, his house posted for rent, and they were just empty. It was his house, but just like completely empty, and he said he saw a photo of his daughter's bedroom, but completely empty, and he tried to reach out to the scammer and tried to doctor, like, fake e-transfer photos, and since he didn't actually lose money to the scam, when he went to the police, they told him that there's nothing they could do because they can't prosecute someone unless you lose money. And he's saying, "Well, I'm sure people have lost money due to this scam, but maybe they're just too ashamed to bring it forward because they think like, how could I be so silly to think that this is real?" But you think it's real because it's a beautiful house. You're worried that you can't find affordable housing, and the person scamming knows what they're doing, and they know how to like calm your fears and your insecurities. Yeah, in Virginia, I get twice the space for less money. Yeah, some places, I'm sure like New York City is one of them, Toronto in Ontario. So I don't know how any average person can afford to live in Toronto. Okay. You can avoid by verifying ownership when browsing listings. Either use a platform with verified landlords and listings, or research the rental property's ownership through public records to confirm the owner's identity. I love that. Insist on viewing the property in person or at least through a video tour if you're renting from abroad before making any payments or providing personal information. Love that. Be cautious of unusually low rental prices, blurry photos, or bad grammar in listings, and request for payment through untraceable methods. Never send payment until after you've seen the place in person or through video, and you've chatted back and forth with the landlord, and you have an official lease in writing that you've read through, and that you've had an opportunity to bring up questions or concerns with your landlord. That's what I would say. In the States, the police cannot do much anyway. We'd have to go to small claims court or housing court, depending on where you live, for sure. What are the legit companies that actually rent or sell houses for real? There's lots. There's lots of companies. I can't think of any right off the bat. I think of local ones, but I don't want to say it because I don't want like my location on the internet. But I would say if you're like looking for rental places, just make sure you like research the company. Google it to see if there are Google reviews. See if there's like several offices in different parts of the country, and just make sure that it's legitimate. Call the like front office number and ask questions if you want to. Just make sure it's a legitimate website, a legitimate business. Hey Neil, how's it going? This is a different kind of video. We are looking at rental scams in Canada. Yes, yes, don't sign a lease unless you've read over every single word and you understand it and you don't have any questions or concerns at all. Yes, love that. And Lori's a lawyer. So, Lori, jump in here if you think I'm missing anything or if you have any other thoughts or opinions on this topic. Love that. Love that you're here. Thank you, Lori. Isn't it against the law to list a property for rent that you don't actually own? It seems like the police should be able to do something about that. If they could find them, but as far as getting money back, you need to go to one of the courts. Makes sense. So Windermere is a good real estate company. Is that an American company, Coconuts? And it's lovely to see you, Coconuts. Hello. Windermere Rental Apartments. Let's see. Windermere Rental Apartments. Interesting. Cool. I don't know anything about Windermere. That sounds cool. I just tried to Google it quickly, and several came up, so I'm not sure which one. One from Florida. Okay, so our next common scam is deposit fraud. In this scam, which is often tied to fake listings, fraudsters pose as landlords and request substantial deposits from prospective tenants to secure a rental property. However, once the payment is made, the scammer vanishes, leaving the renters without a place to stay and their money gone. That is so potentially dangerous. Like when I moved here, I came with, like, I showed up, knew no one in winter. If my apartment had been a scam, I would have been standing on the street in January in like minus 30 degrees Celsius weather with nowhere to go. And I didn't really have money. So no money and nowhere to go. Like, that's so dangerous. It's so dangerous. Okay, they're in most US states. My mom used to sell houses through Windermere. Interesting. A little different, but got a few probable scams in the past when I was looking for a roommate. Oh, I'm sure lots of people have experience with this in some way. I'm sure it's very common. Okay, this was an anonymous renter in Toronto. A home in my area was listed on Craigslist for rent. Besides text messages, the landlord never responded to my phone calls. After signing a rental agreement, I requested to view the property before sending money. But the landlord demanded the money first, so I didn't end up renting the place. I love that they saw the red flag and they stopped the process. They realized it was a scam and they stopped. Something that was important to me when I was looking to find my second apartment where I live, I I realized that I did research on the company and there was a front desk person located in my apartment building. Someone was there from like 8 to 4 every single day. I looked into maintenance and they told me that it's like 24 hours to fix a maintenance issue in the apartments unless they had to get an outside contractor. And then it was like no more than 3 days, they said. And it was 3 days if if it was like a huge issue with pipes or something that they needed a specialist for or would be a really big job. So that's not the point. But I just did a lot of research because I wanted a really, really good company when I moved to my new place. It's a little bit harder when I feel like it would be harder if you're renting from like a private landlord, like someone who's renting out a part of their house, because you can't really do that level of due diligence, but you can just ask similar questions like how long have you been renting the place, like tell me about your last tenant, and make sure that they're like responding to your phone calls, make sure that it's easy to view the place in person. And like Lori said, if you get to the lease signing point, read every word, make sure you understand every word, and that the landlord is open to answering questions that you may have about the lease. Yes, do your due diligence. Exactly, Monica. Exactly. Often the type of deposit requested isn't legally required in the property's jurisdiction. For example, application fees, first month's rent prior to signing a lease, and security deposits where they aren't permitted. Okay, and how to avoid meet in person. Never send money without physically verifying the property's existence. I love that. We already said this, so I'm not going to read every single word because it's repeated. If you're renting from abroad, use video tours. Ask the landlord lots of questions. Insist on a written rental agreement detailing terms and conditions, including the refund policy for deposits. No deposits are required prior to signing a lease. Exactly. And a lease protects the landlord too. So if a landlord is being sketchy over you wanting a lease, that should be a red flag because the lease protects their property. The lease says if I get drunk one day and punch a hole through the wall, I'm legally obligated to pay for it. Right? But if a landlord doesn't want to sign a lease, that is also a huge red flag. I'm glad you guys like this topic. This is awesome. Maybe this will be addressed later, but I've heard of fake landlords asking prospective tenants to fill. Smart Lisa, yes. Right there, identity theft. Yeah, that's one of the other scams. For sure. Oh, hi, Tori. How's it going? I bought my house almost 3.5 years ago, and I really do not miss going through all of the nonsense trying to find a decent place at a decent price. Exactly. Exactly. You guys get it. Use trusted rental platforms. Like, where did we look? I think we looked at Kijiji. I don't know if Kijiji counts as a trusted rental platform. Okay, identity theft, like Lisa just brought up. Yes. Always sign a lease. Always. Always, always. By nature, the application process requires renters to submit a variety of personal information in order to secure a property. Scammers exploit these applications to steal personal information from unsuspecting applicants. This sensitive data may then be used for various fraudulent activities, such as unauthorized withdrawals, causing significant financial and emotional harm to the victims. Yeah, for sure. My sister was desperate to find a place and ignored the telltale signs of rental scams. Too good to be true pricing, unable to view property, poorly constructed emails, non-Canadian number. She ended up giving copies of her ID and social insurance number, so I had to freeze her credit and report the fraud. I remember when I rented my first place in this city, I did have to provide like pay stubs, and that's to ensure that the landlord knows you have enough money in your account to be paying the rent. And that's also, I feel like that's unnecessary. I feel like you could just provide a reference of an employer who can tell your landlord how much money you make, right? But I understand that's a requirement in some rental companies, but yeah, you could think, oh, well, my last place I rented, I had to send this and this document, so it's totally okay to send my social insurance number. But no, we have to protect our social insurance numbers, never give it out to anyone unless you're in like Canadian Revenue Agency offices or something, or you're applying for a new passport or a new birth certificate. Like, do never give out your SIN unless it's for like particular government activities. And unless you're trying to access a government service, preferably in person, but say you're filling out an application through the Canadian government website, they will ask for your SIN for a passport, for example, but just don't give out your SIN. Don't give out your SIN. This is great advice here. While there's plenty of personal information required on applications, renters are encouraged to educate themselves on exactly what's required of them and what types of documents and details landlords are unable to ask for. See, I have not looked into that, and so that might be, sorry, my nose is running. That might be a good thing for me to do if we ever move again, just to make sure I'm educated on the topic, because I don't need us to get scammed. So limit information. Be extremely cautious about providing unnecessary personal details like social insurance number unless absolutely necessary. I feel like that's kind of wishy-washy because how are you supposed to know if it's absolutely necessary? It is reasonable for landlords to view but not retain documents such as T4 and bank statements. You can protect yourselves when submitting these documents by blurring out sensitive details such as your personal as social insurance number and bank account numbers. Ensure any documents or applications containing sensitive information are submitted to secure and encrypted channels. At Live.Rent, we use secure cloud-based storage and military-grade encryption to ensure your precious information remains safe. And of course, verify your landlord's identity. Sorry, friends. My phone's buzzing, making weird noises. Okay. So we're looking at the last most common type of rental scams. This is the bait and switch scam. Dishonest landlords or agents show renters a different property than the one advertised, often subpar or less desirable in some way. This deceitful tactic aims to pressure renters into accepting a property they wouldn't have chosen otherwise. Often, some particular detail about the property is misrepresented. In one such case, oh, this is terrible. A renter discovered that the one-bedroom basement suite he planned to rent looked nothing like the photos and was actually a two-bedroom suite with a roommate he was previously unaware of. There's safety concerns in that too. That is outrageous. We don't know this person. And if, say, like, you didn't know that there is a random roommate in your basement suite, you need somewhere to live. Maybe you signed a lease. What are you supposed to do? That's awful. That's terrible. I'm upset at that. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine. Prioritize visiting the exact rental property that was advertised, avoiding any attempts to show a different location during the viewing. I feel like this would be really easy for a landlord to be like, oh, well, the actual one I wanted to show you, the pipe just burst. So I'm going to show you this one instead, but it's exactly the same as the one that you looked at online. But then like the one that they actually rent you is some trash place. Maybe you looked at a 3-bedroom apartment, but the one they rent you is a crappy 1-bedroom or a crappy studio. I love this. Document everything. Take photos and notes during property viewings to have evidence in case of discrepancies with the listing description that are discovered later. So, this isn't exactly, we didn't take photos during the viewing process, but after we signed the lease before we left, we walked around and took photos of like nicks on the walls or like discoloring somewhere, like anything that could potentially be blamed on us and could potentially make it so we don't get our rental deposit, our security deposit back. So we could show that, like, hey, look, when we right after we signed the lease, we took pictures of the condition of the place. And look, there was this scuff in the wall. So that was not our fault. And I said this before, research rent prices. Familiarize yourself with average rental prices in the area to spot suspiciously low or high offers that may signal a bait and switch scam. MLM is easy to avoid, but this is on a whole different level. It's a well thought out scam, difficult to detect. Great comment. That's totally true. Totally true. How do, yes, how do the people who do these scams sleep at night? This makes me so mad. Exactly. Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. Can you imagine showing up thinking you have an apartment and you don't? Or paying money for an apartment, thinking that you have it, and then the landlord disappears and you're out like $1,600 and you have nowhere to live. Okay. Rental scams are constantly growing more sophisticated as renters become aware of existing types of fraud. In some newly reported cases, tenants have been able to view the property in person before finding out that it wasn't actually owned by the supposed landlord, making clear the need to be increasingly vigilant and take extra steps to verify ownership in the current rental market. American couple falls victim to Revelstoke rental scam. An American couple fell victim to a rental scam in Revelstoke, British Columbia. After making a post on the Revi Rentals Facebook page, they were contacted by a landlord offering a 1-bedroom plus den for $1,700. They went through the entire rental process, including the submission of personal information and deposit. Wow. The landlord even went as far as performing a background check through a supposed lawyer. The couple didn't realize until they showed up to the property that it was a scam. So this landlord even pretended to do a criminal background check. Whenever I've rented apartments, you provide references, you provide employment references, you provide the phone number of your past landlord. And can you imagine you try so hard to trick someone that you call the references even though you are scamming the person? How is this person supposed to know? How are they supposed to know that it's a scam when it looks like it's a completely average and normal rental process? Oh, this was what I already referenced. A woman who lives near Memorial University in St. John's finds that her address has been used by scammers dozens of times. Over the past 3 years, she estimates that 35 to 40 people came to view her property only to realize it was a scam. It was barely noticeable at first, but these visits started picking up last year, becoming a weekly cadence. A young man who fell victim to the scam told her that he saw an ad posted to a student housing group on Facebook. She was living in the apartment and people were coming thinking it was for rent. Facebook rental scam targets North York renters, which is pretty much Toronto, Ontario. A man has been arrested by Toronto police in connection to a rental scam on Facebook that targets renters in North York. Under the name Diamond Dallas Taylor, the suspect advertised a room for rent at 1818 Weston Road on Facebook Marketplace and posed as the unit's owners during showings. After potential tenants paid the $800 deposit to secure the room, he would cut off contact. Police believe there may be additional victims and urge them to come forward. Yeah, so he's pretending to be the owner. Yeah, he's pretending to be the owner. People show up. But yeah, I'm like deposits to secure a room before you sign a lease. As far as I know, that does not exist. When you sign the lease, I think I paid like first and last month's rent. The last month's rent is like, I don't remember exactly. I don't remember what I did for this one. I remember from my last apartment, my security deposit was like $350. And then you get that back at the end of your lease or your term, assuming that you did not make a mess of the apartment. So as far as I know, based on my own experience, deposit to secure a room prior to signing a lease does not exist. Yes, after the lease is signed, not before. Exactly. A couple who recently moved to Victoria, BC from Alberta encountered a sophisticated rental scam where a fake landlord actually showed the property in person before meeting the couple in person on moving day, collecting $900 deposit and half a month's rent before disappearing. The case illustrates the growing complexity of rental scams, as this landlord had a key fob to the outside door, a key for the unit, and was able to describe the building's key features, even going so far as to check references. Victoria police later confirmed that there were at least 10 similar cases in the city. So, did this person have a fake key? I want to know more about this. I'm assuming that they were not able to get into their apartment. I want to know more. They spoke to the scammer on the phone and even traveled to Victoria to meet him in person to view the property. Sorry, I keep needing to cough. I'm going to mute just for a sec. No, thank you, sir. Okay. He let us in using a key fob, brought us upstairs, told us about the building, discussed the utilities. He had this whole story about it, when he bought it, who he bought it with, all this stuff. Led us right into the apartment. He had a key for the door to the apartment. Adding the scam. Okay, we knew that. I guess we did. The red flag, I guess we did see in hindsight, was that he requested we pay cash for the damaged deposit. But the place was very fairly priced. He was a very normal guy, and nothing was particularly odd about him. We met with him multiple times. He led us into multiple buildings. You just wouldn't think that it was a scam because of how elaborate it was. And here is the listing. $1,000, 2-bedroom, fully furnished executive suite with spectacular view in Nanaimo, Canada. The couple only realized they'd been scammed the day they arrived to move into the apartment. Okay, bye, Monica. See ya. Have a good evening and have a good sleep. The scammer met them in person outside the building to hand off the keys. He told them that his niece and nephew were being dropped off and he'd be back in a few minutes and never returned. Wow! When the couple tried to use the key fob on the building, it didn't work. Neither did the mailbox key or the key to the apartment door. I didn't read this when I was prepping. I didn't read this article. Realizing what had happened, the duo reported the incident to the police and posted their tale on social media site Reddit, where numerous others said they'd been scammed the same way. Multiple people commented and private messaged us saying pieces of your story are exactly exactly the same as what happened to me. Is that him? Wow. The price seems a little too low for a really competitive rental market. You negotiate, this person contacts your references, gives you a key fob, and then you arrive and discover this is not the case. Victoria Police spokesperson Bowen Osoko told Global News. It's quite possible he has targeted people right across the region. Okay, so are these his his scam listings, I wonder? Police have already made 2 arrests on the file and released a photo of one of the suspects in hopes of connecting with more victims. In the meantime, would-be renters are being warned to take every precaution when locking down a deal. Okay, yeah, we've already read this. So that's outrageous. Can you imagine that? You show up at the apartment, you have your key, you've talked to the landlord a bunch of times, you trust him, nothing super sketchy has happened yet. He leaves for a few minutes, he's supposed to come right back and he just never shows up. And then you're stuck probably with like a car full of your furniture in a place you don't really know. It's a new city and you have nowhere to live. Wow. That is outrageous. How to report a rental scam. You can report it to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. Of course, educate yourself. If you think that you're being scammed by a rental scammer, freeze your cards, cancel your cards, call your bank, do whatever you need to do to make sure that your money cannot be continually transferred out of your account into these scammers. And if you think you've noticed a scam listing, flag it or contact the administrator of whatever website, whatever platform you're using. Again, if the scammer has your address and is sending someone to your house to pick up money, or if you feel your immediate safety is threatened, call 911 to report a fraud in progress. If you're not experiencing any immediate danger but did lose money, you can contact your local RCMP detachment to report the incident. And I just clicked. We're going to see, it said report it online, but then it doesn't tell you how to report. So you can report if you've been a victim of a fraud, of online scam, you can report it to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. We're not going to look at this in huge detail, but it's literally, I feel like a lot of my viewers are not Canadian, but if you happen to be Canadian, here is the website that we're on right here. That's the website that I'm on right now, where you can report a case of fraud. Reporting to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. You can log into the online reporting system tool using GC Key, a user ID or password, government sign-in by verified.me. That's just that's just like a Canadian government virtual identity, digital identity system. Okay, so yeah, the system is going to log you out. If there's no activity for 20 consecutive minutes, you will need to start over, or you can call online to report the case of fraud. Monday through Friday, 9 to 4:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Remember, Eastern Time. It's closed on holidays. You can report by phone. 1-800-495-8505. And yeah, that's how you can report it. That's not super exciting. I feel like I want to look at that CBC News thing. CBC. I didn't even include that. I should have. It was a really good one. I wish I could remember what it was called. It was a really good one. I want to show you. Of course, my computer's struggling. Rental apartment scams. If we can't find it, I'll just go to the other. This is it. Okay, we're going to watch a 2-minute video. Rental scams are getting more sophisticated is the title of it. We're going to share my screen again. Thank you for your patience, friends. We're going to click this. Maybe I shouldn't have shared it before it was loaded.
And if you're not...
Okay. Yeah, I feel like most of my viewers are not, but I'm sure that the rental apartment scams are quite similar in the United States and maybe elsewhere as well. So we're gonna watch this. It's super interesting. Is the volume up? No, it's not. Let's turn it up. Okay.
Careful, that's what a homeowner could be telling you after you sign a lease for a brand new rental.
Yeah, that's because of a rise in rental scams. It really could cost you. John Matarese shows us the warning signs so you don't waste your money.
Spring is rental season when thousands of people in the Houston area look for a new place to live. But with rents high and homes hard to find, it's prime time for scams.
Brandon Smith and Shelby Moore.
This was not the right video. Oops. Whatever. Yeah. With prices high and with demand for rentals high, prices high, but supply low, very easy for scammers to swoop in and really like prey on people's vulnerabilities, the need for parents to feel like they're providing a safe and clean and healthy environment for their kids, a secure home. It is really just so predatory. Like Monica said, it's not easy to find, easy to notice, because you could see listings that appear to be legitimate but are completely fake. You could see a listing for a lovely house, but it was the pictures from before it was sold 20 years ago, and it's not for rent, but you could be swindled, you could be tricked into giving a scammer your hard-earned money for an apartment for a location that is not even available to rent. So sad, so terrible, so terrible.
Found the perfect rental home for $1,000 a month.
It just looked really beautiful and could fit our whole family, so we went and looked at it.
Even shooting videos of their first walk through the.
Imagine $1,000 a month. You have a little kid, and you think, "Oh my gosh, this is perfect for us to grow our family. Like we can grow here. Our kid can get bigger and have more toys, or can like have a drum set if they want to, or we could like grow our family here. We could have more babies in this house." And they had a walkthrough. Like she's showing us the walkthrough. They had a walkthrough. They thought it was real, and then it's a scam. And I'm actually gonna let it play for a second, just because I think it's CBC. I think it's CBC. It's a news channel. I want to make sure I don't let it play for too long.
House.
I was just all excited about it, ready to move in and everything.
But as they were moving in, they say a man stopped by to inform them it wasn't their house, even though they had signed a contract, got the front door code, and Venmo'd a $1,000 security deposit. They had fallen for the rental scam.
Sounded realistic at the time, because we were
So sad. You're so excited, and someone's like, "It's a scam. It's not real." And they signed an agreement, which is what you're supposed to do. And they sent $1,000 over Venmo. That's awful. Hello, Anastasia. It's lovely to see you. I hope you enjoy.
just so excited about it.
The same thing happened recently to Mariah Dates, who found this cute 2-bedroom house on Facebook Marketplace for just $700 a month. She immediately filled out this application and sent a deposit and 2 months' rent via the Zelle app.
And then I never got the keys.
This is happening more and more these days because the scam keeps getting more sophisticated. Scammers find a home for sale and copy all the photos. Then they pretend to be buyers and get the code to the front door from the real estate agent.
So don't let this happen.
Wow, they pretend to be buyers. They'll find a house listed for sale. They get the code to enter the house so they can pretend to show the house to prospective renters from the actual real estate owner. I guess once they're inside for like the tour that they get from like, not the real estate owner, the real estate agent, then I guess they take pictures of it and pretend that they're the owner. I have so many questions. I wonder, are they like breaking into the home when the real estate agent is not there to show the listing to prospective renters? Wow. Yeah, like this is not the one I thought. It's not even a Canadian video, but that's okay because it's still interesting.
Happen to you. The FTC says be suspicious of rental listings. If the landlord wants a deposit before you have met, you can't go inside the home. They ask for a deposit via Venmo, Zelle, or gift cards. Brandon and Shelby, their money drained, have now set up a GoFundMe page, hoping the community can help them get back on their feet.
It's very stressful, because I just want to feel like we can just, live.
In the end, the price seems too low and you can't meet.
That's very sad. She had to She had to run or start a GoFundMe because they were drained of all their money because of the scam. That's really sad. And can you imagine you're like a young family, you're so excited to move into a new place, and then you quickly realize it's a scam. You fell victim to a scam, and I could just imagine the disappointment and the fear, because when you're a parent, you have other people, you have children who are relying on you, and it's just sad. Yeah, maybe being asked to pay the deposit via Venmo or Zelle is a red flag. Are those okay apps in the United States? Like, are those apps used for like more serious transactions? Because I'm not aware of like what those apps are usually used for in Canada. I'm trying to think, how have I paid security deposits? I paid security deposits through check, through e-transfer. When with this where I'm living now, it was a private landlord, and so in that case, I would e-transfer directly to their name, like they're individual. They're an individual, not a company. But in other cases, I've done direct deposits for companies. So you go into your bank account and you add the company as a payee, right? And you get their exact like identification to add them as a payee within the e-transfer system, and you would transfer the rent or the damage deposit in that way. Oh, Lisa said I made that comment right before he said it. I use Zelle to send money to friends, but I wouldn't recommend using something like that to send money to someone you don't know. Okay, interesting. Thank you for that. So I want to read this and then we can be done. This was very fun. I loved this. Okay. Since it processes stuff as ACH transactions, you can't cancel or dispute them as easily as you can with a credit card / check payment. Are e-transfers a thing in the United States? Can you just like transfer money from your bank account directly to your friends or like your parents or something if you owe them money? So this is Winnipeg from July 12th, 2023. When I was researching specific news articles related to this in Canada specifically, a lot of them were brand new. A lot of these were like within the last like 7, 8, 9 months. And it's just interesting. I didn't expect. And when I clicked the links in the first article we wrote, went directly to relatively new news articles as well. So like this kind of thing seems to happen frequently. A Winnipeg woman is sharing her story about a rental scam and hopes others won't have to deal with what she has gone through recently. In June, Judy Smith said she was on the hunt for a new place to live as she couldn't afford the rent at her current home. She posted on a Winnipeg rental group page on Facebook to see if anyone might have a place for her. That's when she received a private message from someone saying their cousin had a place that was for sale, but they were going to take it off the market and put it up for rent, and asked Smith for her email so she could contact the home owners. That's when she got an email from someone who said they had a 3-bedroom house in Winnipeg available and all utilities were included. The person lived in Nanaimo, BC, but said they owned the Winnipeg property. She sent me an application form to fill out. I filled it out, sent it back, then she asked me for my job ID and job pay stubs. I sent that, and then she sent me a lease agreement. After that, I sent her the damage deposit, and she said she would send me the keys. The person on the other end of the email said the keys wouldn't come until July 4th, which meant Smith had to stay in a hotel for a couple of days. She was given the tracking number for the keys in the mail, but couldn't find the information online. I couldn't locate the shipping company on Google, so I tried to message her and ask her what shipping company she was sending, and then she sent me the details on that. I still couldn't find it. Oh no. Lots of people accept Venmo or Zelle for small items bought locally. Zelle basically does that. You can access it through a lot of online banking sites, but it's unwise to send someone you don't know hundreds or thousands of dollars through it, in my opinion. Interesting, Demi. Yeah, I know nothing about that. So yeah, like it's commonly used for small payments, but not for $900 for a deposit. Okay, that makes sense. At this point, Smith said she went to the house and phoned the realtor for the property. After explaining what happened, the realtor said the individual she had been talking to did not own the home and that she was being scammed. Looking back, Smith said she felt like she was being scammed, but noted she never felt like she was being scammed, but noted she only communicated over email with the individual. However, Smith is not alone. According to real estate agent Igor Melenik, who has been told one of his listings was being used in a potential scam, so actual real estate listings are also being used. While he wasn't connected to what happened to Smith, he was called a few days ago by a woman who said someone had used his pictures to create a fake rental listing. So it's a fake rental listing using the pictures of a real rental listing. So how are we supposed to know when we're looking at it if it's fake or not? I guess we don't know by looking at it, but we can know if we call the landlord and they're really hard to get a hold of, if we're pressured to send money before signing a lease agreement, if we're pressured to sign a lease agreement without seeing the place in person, if we go to see the place in person and but then there was that really sophisticated scam where a couple actually went to see the place in person. The landlord had the keys and a fob and everything. They showed them the apartment. They told them everything about the property. So they had to leave for a few minutes and then they just never came back. So if we can actually say if the rest of the rental process seems normal, you don't sign a lease, you don't pay money before you sign a lease, everything seems normal, how are we supposed to know if a landlord is going to give us fake keys and then disappear? The woman he spoke with said they too were looking for a rental property, came across the fake ad on Facebook, and started messaging the person who posted it. They had asked to see the property, but were told the owners were on vacation and they would have to wait to see it. While waiting, Melenik said this woman filled out an application for the apartment and the sellers asked for a damage deposit. They said they wouldn't transfer the money until they got to see the place. This is when they decided to go see the property themselves and they learned it was for sale and not rent. Melenik said this woman never lost any money, but he is concerned that this has happened. It's really sad that we have such people doing this, said Melenik. He recommends people never send any money for a property until they've seen the home and met with the owner or property manager. So we've already looked at this. Verify the title. It's good to talk to the landlord in person. Of course, we already learned about that. As for Smith, she said she is frustrated about her current situation and is currently staying at a hotel until she can find a new place to rent. So for Judy Smith, she talked to the person, she sent the money, and then this fake landlord said, okay, I'm going to send you the keys. And the keys just never came. And she gave her bogus tracking information so she could track the keys, and they just never came. The keys never came because she was being scammed. And so now she's living in a hotel while desperately trying to find another place to live. I hate this. Oh, it's hard to trust. It's hard for me. Fair, you got scammed. I've been looking online, but it's so hard for me to trust anyone because I don't know, said Smith. I just want people to be aware it's not a good situation. Now it's harder for me to survive and find a house. I hate that so much. Makes me so angry. I know it was mentioned a little while ago, but when I was house hunting, I never had access to lockboxes or codes. My realtor made sure I didn't see the code for any of the houses. Good. So I had another article. I feel like my brain hurts, so I might want to be done. Because I feel like they're kind of the same now, what we're looking at. Yeah, that's pretty much the same as what we already looked at. So we're good. We don't need to look at the other article. So that was a lot. So I'm going to just scroll through the first website so I can summarize what we've learned. We've learned that rental scams in Canada are considered, as of the 2022 Better Business Bureau, what is it called? Better Business Bureau Scam Tracker Risk Report that it's considered the #7 riskiest type of scam in Canada. There are 4 main types of rental scams in Canada. Fake listings, which we've heard can be created by a property that's actually for sale, by a property that someone already lives in. Maybe they took pictures. There were pictures that were posted from the original sale listing 20 years ago when it was empty and they didn't have any furniture in it. We learned that there is deposit fraud where someone demands that, or a landlord requests a large sum of money is deposited before they're able to sign the lease or view the apartment. And then once they get your money, the scammer vanishes. Terrible. Identity theft. When you are renting an apartment, you often have to send certain documents, and you have to send like photocopies of your driver's license, and that can be used to steal your identity. So be careful. Make sure you research exactly what is required for a landlord to have access to during the rental process, so you make sure that you keep your private and personal information safe. And the last one, bait and switch scams, where you are told that you are renting out a lovely, say, 2-3 bedroom apartment, and then when you go to move into your new home, you realize that it's actually a trash apartment, and maybe even with a roommate that you were not previously aware of. And ways to protect ourselves: verify the identity of the landlord, research the company, research what's required of you to send to landlords, research rent prices, inspect the property before you move in, document any issues you may have with the apartment before you move in, and just make sure you are feel aware of the red flags, that you're paying attention, and that if something feels off in your gut, go with it and look for another nice apartment elsewhere, right? If something is off, that could include being asked to send rent before you sign a lease agreement, or being asked to send your damage deposit in cash. Okay, that was it. That's all I had. This was awesome. You guys seem to like it. That was cool because this is interesting. And I went on the Canadian anti-scam, anti-theft, fraud, whatever, and there's a whole list of different types of scams. And one was a marriage scam. And I'm like, what is a marriage scam? And so my other, my researchy videos might be more scammy things, might be things that I just like doing. And my husband suggested I do a job search video, because I feel like if I were to ever change my career, I would want to be an employment counselor to help people write their cover letters and their resumes and help them apply for jobs, because I feel like it's something that I'm pretty good at, because I'm a good writer, and it's something that's fun for me. Interestingly, I don't know why, but it's actually fun for me to apply for jobs. And so he said, why don't you make a video on that, right? I don't know how I would make a video on that, but maybe that could be a topic for a future video. Oh, Lisa said, yes, this is very interesting. Yay, that's awesome. I'm so glad. So yeah, that's all I have for today. I'll be back on Friday, most likely for an anti-MLM video. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. This was a great time. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!